Welcome to Not Dead Yet Live. This is our second show. Our guest today, a very special guest, was supposed to be here in our first show, but there was a technical difficulty, which was moi. So
this is Nancy and I'm Karen Lee, in case you just joined us.
So I'm Dr. Nancy Sutton Pierce. Karen Lee Potter and I have been doing different broadcasts for over the last many years, and we are excited to be here to do this show with you. Not Dead Yet Live show. We have a very special guest today, and her name is Avery Brown. I'll put her full bio in the film body once it's up on YouTube. She's a rising creative force in the world of film and media. At just 20 years old, Avery, a junior at UC Irvine, pursuing a degree in film and media studies, which is a program well known on its hands-on production, preparing students to excel. Her academic journey is driven by a deep passion for cinematography and a clear vision to become a director of photography and to help shape the visual language of tomorrow's films. Her final in her last quarter at University of California, Irvine, was to create, write, direct, film, edit, and build an entire short film. So we would like to invite Avery to the stage. Come along.
So turn my camera on?
Yeah.
Turn it on.
Okay. Let's meet you. All right, this is Avery. Yay! I hear the applause. Yay, Avery's here. Okay, so Avery, is there anything you'd like to say to kind of set up the film because I'm going to show that in just a brief second here?
I think I want everyone who's watching it to interpret it in their own way, but just the general log line synopsis of it is that it's a younger girl living in a memory through the narration of her older self, and she's reflecting on her younger, wilder, free years, and just figuring out life.
Oh, all right. I'm going to try really hard not to cry.
Well, I think this person has a special meaning to you.
Yes, Avery is another very special part of my heart. She is my granddaughter. And that's going to make me cry to say that. So she's my second precious grandchild, and means the world to me to have her here supporting me doing this journey.
Glad to be here.
Okay, so shall we start the film and then we can come back afterwards and talk about it?
Let's do it.
All right, ladies, hang in there. Well, I see what I can do.
This is what I'm working
gosh, Avery, that is so powerful.
Thank you.
Avery, were you able to hear everything?
Yeah, I heard, I mean, I've watched that video so many times. I have the script memorized front to back, but yeah, I could hear it.
Oh, yeah, we had to play with the audio a little bit on, you know, getting it to go off of Zoom. It played
Right.
fine on Zoom, and then getting it to go out and about is a challenge, but we're
Mm.
here. We did it. We did it. Yay.
Woo!
So I'd love to hear a little bit more about like your writing. So beautiful and definitely from the heart.
Yeah, so the process of me writing that um, came about very fast because going to UC Irvine, we're on the quarter system. So we get 10 weeks for the duration of a class. And this came out of my first ever production class, where instead of being in a lecture hall or doing papers, we were in a classroom with equipment and then given prompts to go and make our own stuff. So that's a production class. I took my first one last quarter, and about week 4, my professor was like, okay, time to write your screenplays for your final. But we don't have enough time to dive into everything. And I've never written a screenplay before in my entire life. So I got the basic format, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had no idea where I wanted to start, how I wanted to structure it. And the biggest thing that they always tell you in the film world is write what you know. So this story is very personal to me, but also very universal, I'm aware of. And I'm a frequent journaler, and I love to read. So I think that majorly influenced a lot of my writing. When I initially showed it to the class, my teacher actually didn't like it because she said it sounded too much like a piece of literature, or too structurally poetic, and not like dialogue. But that was good to hear because that was actually my intention.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think you know, the script writing your older self, speaking back, I think Karen and I can definitely relate. I think any woman older than 20 can relate to speaking back to yourself at 20.
Yeah, I mean, I am only 20, as we know. I feel like I have lived 1,000 lives in the last like 5 years. The transition period from middle school to high school to another high school to college, that was a huge one. The people that have come into my life, the people that have come out of my life, it has all happened in the blink of an eye, but it's all been so complex and so intertwined with everything. And I can't help but sit here at 20 and feel like I have a good handful of retrospection to look back on just these few years even. And I guess when I write something like this so far abstractly in the future of my older self in like a relative sense, I feel like that perspective is like an elongated version of how I would talk to myself maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. Because me 3 or 4 years ago, a complete stranger, it feels like, somebody so far removed. So I can't even imagine what it would be like being so many years farther down the line.
Right. And Karen, do you have any comments or questions? I know you're.
I thought I've seen it before, and I was very moved by it. I thought it was brilliant, and I was very impressed with, like you said, you're so young and you're able to articulate things in a much more mature fashion than I would have expected for a 20-year-old. So I think you got a good career ahead of yourself.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now we got to find some film festivals for you, right?
So what people didn't know is the narrator was none other than Nancy.
That, I have to tell you, that was a huge honor to be asked to be a part of her process. The first thing I did when we sat on the floor of her dorm room was to, or her apartment, was to start reading the script and crying.
I have a few exported takes of you getting like 5 words in, and then
we
could use those ones.
We should have done a little blooper roll.
Yeah, but we came and we sat right here on this floor, and I had my headphones and my little audio equipment because this was my first production class. It was a very vulnerable moment, honestly, for me, and I can't even imagine for you, but I think that we were both in a space of, okay, you know what you're doing and I'm the guest here, but I can say in all honesty, I think that went both ways, because I know that you've done narrative work before, and I've never recorded a voiceover and been an audio engineer, and you probably thought I knew what I was doing.
I did.
You were reading my script, but I think having such a safe space and somebody that I've known for many years, my whole life, from the moment I was born, that was something that I'm really grateful for. Being a filmmaker and freelancing and doing all these projects, working with people, you really have to make sure that they're people that you trust, and it's a big leap to hand over your child of a project to somebody. I wouldn't have trusted anybody to do that other than a connection that I have with you.
Well,
that's
beautiful. My heart is fluttering here.
The fact that you guys will have this for the rest of your life, it's such a neat bonding piece.
Definitely. Well, and I could so relate. I mean, just so relate to the talking to your 20-year-old. And Karen and I've done a lot of shows over the years about what would you say if you could talk to your 10-year younger self, or what would you ask your 50-year older person, all of those things, those going back and forth. And so sitting on the floor with you, I felt such an equalizing of us. It's like, just there's 2 women sitting here working on a project that had meaning to both of us. And you were a brilliant director. And I was, I never felt like you were uncomfortable directing me and what you needed me to do and asking me to do it again. I felt like you were very competent and confident in what you wanted, and you articulated that beautifully, and it was easy to follow your instructions. So
thank you. That's my
girl.
Are you going to involve other family members in your future endeavors?
I hope so. I mean, my dad's already been an extra in one of my previous assignments on accident. He was just cooking in the kitchen. I had the camera. I'm not even sure if he knows that. But with the whole process of making a film and being the director, my number one concern and something that I'm trying to cultivate is how to communicate. That's the biggest thing about being a director, is your communication, because you're not necessarily behind the camera. I mean, I happen to be, because it was like a 4-person crew, but you're not necessarily the camera operator. You're not necessarily the director of photography or the audio engineer, all these things. So you have to really hone in on your communication skills and how you're going to use words to tell the moving parts of your film machine what you want your vision to look like. So I'm really glad to hear that that was something that I scored on. But yeah, it was really interesting directing somebody through words on a feeling that I didn't really know how to explain. And I was also weirdly, not surprised, but kind of satisfied, I guess, to know that everybody that I've talked to or showed this film to has been like, yeah, I get it. And I guess there was some part of me in my small little 20-year-old world that was like, I'm the only one that feels this way. Nobody gets me. And I was like, oh, wait, actually, everybody feels like this. So that's the great thing about the medium of film. You don't always have to have words.
No. And I'll tell you that doing that project with you, when I first read your screenplay and then doing the project with you, absolutely cemented in the idea of doing this show. That
Aww.
Karen and I have been batting around ideas on shows and topics for since we stopped Wild Women with Wine, right? So and so doing that project with you was so meaningful to me, and I saw it from a 20-year-old version and a whatever I am version, and
25.
yeah, a little bit older, but I saw it from both of our perspectives, and I thought how enriching for women to be able to share their stories with younger women, and younger women be able to share your stories with elder women, so that we can
Ones that are not dead
collaborate.
yet.
What's that?
I said you're going to share them with the ones that are not dead yet.
Not dead yet. Exactly.
Insert title card.
Exactly. So that, you really you lit the fuse big time, Avery.
That means a lot to me. I think this sounds kind of weird to say, but I feel like I've accidentally or not intentionally had bigger impacts on people than I've realized. And I think because a lot of the time people don't say anything, but the few times that people have said something, it's like, whoa, I didn't even realize that you dyed your hair that color because I said that one thing that one time, or, like we are not the only people in the world. You and I were talking about this the other day, human exceptionalism.
Mm-hmm.
But we are larger than we realize.
And at the end of our show, and I'll just throw it in there now real quick, and I've been saying it for years, I know you will recognize this, Avery, and Karen too, is every day you wake up, you get to decide whether you're a warning or an example, because there's no such thing as neutral. Every interaction we have with other people impacts them in some way. And either they feel, when people leave our presence, they either feel better about themselves or worse about themselves. But rarely is it, yeah.
Yeah. Something that I've taken out of that, you have an impact on everybody, positive or negative, is the importance of being conscious of that, I think, because talking more about the creation of my film, my main actress, she is so lovely. She is one of the girls in my a cappella group. Side note, I'm in an a cappella group.
It's an awesome thing.
Yeah, it's really, really fun. She is one of the first year a cappella girls. And I didn't know her super well. She's the roommate of one of my really good friends, but I didn't know her really at all. And she fit what I had in my mind, and I reached out to her. I had her phone number. Last minute was like, hey, will you be a part of my final project? We're doing 2 days of shooting, like this many hours. I know it's a big ask. And she was like, yeah, I'm super down. And we spent like 2 concentrated days with exhausting hours, driving like 7 different locations just together. And in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm working this girl to the bone. Like, I feel so bad. She probably has so many other things to do. And currently, I would say that she's one of my closest friends at school, because she was so touched by the script. She was so honored to be a part of it. She had a great time filming. She said she would be down to do anything else that I had in the future. So just realizing that putting yourself out there and that you do have an impact and an importance is important for human connection and just how you build the rest of your life, I feel like.
Are you sure you're 20?
Right.
Yeah.
You gotta add a couple of decades on that one.
It's a bit of an old soul, that one.
Well, you
I
must
like
be-
my vintage stuff.
Deep thinker. Yeah.
Sometimes to a fault, but that's why we
that's-
got the journal.
Sometimes that's where you go to get your creative juice, right? It's like you cannot be a shallow liver or a superficial person and really tap into that deep, heartfelt creativity. And you have always been a super creative person. I mean, everything you've ever done has been from a place of creative expression. So this is just another step on a very positive, powerful path of yours.
Thank you. Yeah, my computer's currently sitting in front of my sewing machine and my pen pal supplies. So, but with filmmaking, finding that as a medium, that has been pretty instrumental in my clearance in my mind of like, yes, this is what I want to do. And I can't exactly explain why. I've drawn and painted and sewn and sang and danced and written my whole life, but film to me combines everything perfectly to give everything a little voice of what I want to express. And it's been the first thing in my life that has felt like a clear choice. Ooh. Especially being 20. Everything is so incredibly unsettled, so uncomfortable, constantly changing, insecure. But film was the first thing that came to me not that long ago. I want to say, like, just this last year, that has been just a little. The way that I described it was that I've been kind of in a hole in college, of like, what do I want to do? Came in as a Chinese studies major.
As we do.
Where'd that go? As one does. And I was just in a hole of like, what do I want to do? I don't even know if I want to be here. Should I go to school somewhere else? Should I not go to school at all? And I kind of just kept digging myself deeper and deeper and deeper. And film, and particularly this film, I had a phone call with my mom. She probably remembers. I was driving down the freeway and I had finally finished the film. And I said that I feel like I have just one finger out now, more like a hand, but out of the hole. And that was all that I needed. That was all that I needed to feel like, okay, this is very dramatic, but I'm 20. So put yourself in my shoes.
Yeah.
Like, everything's going to be okay.
That's beautiful. I was thinking, you are very lucky that you're born in this day and age, because when I was not given options to do film or do whatever. My brother wanted to be a guitar player. That was not an option. You get to be, certain categories. You're a lawyer, you're a doctor, you're a nurse. For women, you're a school teacher, a social worker, occupational therapist. But no one said you can go out and explore your artistic or creative endeavors. That was just not a thing. So I'm happy that you were born in a time when this is something you can just dive into and do.
Totally.
Pay big bucks for it one day.
Yeah. We've, in my film classes, we've been, I mean, you can't know film without knowing all the history behind it. And we've been focusing a lot on the gender constructions and race constructions in the history of film, but particularly looking at what you said with occupations, women weren't allowed to do like anything at all.
Go for your MRS degree. That's what I was told. Go down to University of Illinois, get your MRS degree.
Yeah, I'm in a history of digital media and video games class right now, and we're learning about like the history of the computer and typists, and how this is a whole nother podcast, but how computers were needed to be directed by humans, but it would be the man directing the woman directing the computer. So it's all pretty crazy, but being able to live in this day and age where I can go to school and get my degree in film and media studies is pretty baller, I would say.
I agree. That's very baller.
Yeah.
So we have people in the chat, and let's see, there was a Mrs. Elb said, hello there, ready to feel the freshness of being still alive, not dead yet vibes. And Jill Brown says, so excited.
Hey, who's that?
And Mark Pierce said, every skill you develop adds to your next step.
Oh, very sweet. You have a good support system there, Avery.
Absolutely. There are a lot of things in this life, probably 99% of them, that I would not be doing without my family. So thank you, family. A lot.
You are loved beyond love capabilities. I mean, we have a pretty fun, cool family, but the love is real and the support is real, and it's there when you need it, and without question. So it's pretty cool to watch you, the next generation, evolve and take hold.
I have to ask, what's the name of your a cappella group? My daughter was in an a cappella group.
That's really funny. It's called Clair de Lune a cappella. We are the only all-girls a cappella group at UC Irvine, and I am the beatboxer.
That's really cool too.
Can you do some for us, Abe?
Yeah, right.
On live. Look at the Instagram. It's at Clair de Lune a cappella. There's some clips on there. No, I'm not warmed up.
My daughter was in a group called Mixed Company.
Oh, awesome. Love that. What school did she go to?
It was at Yale.
A cappella groups everywhere.
Yeah.
Jill Brown says your family sounds amazing.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. Speaking of family and what you said about having that support system, this is an awesome moment to talk about my tattoo.
Okay.
Which I think, I mean, it just is like this is my like PowerPoint presentation for talking about that, because having that support system has really been instrumental, not only academic wise, but security wise, of having a fallback when I'm experimenting in all facets of style or my hair or my personality or what I'm into or what I'm doing in school or what I'm participating in. Having my family constantly backing me is huge, in being able to explore creativity.
Can you share what that tattoo is so that people
can
connect that?
Yeah. So my wonderful papa, him and I got the privilege the last few years that I was still in my hometown, to do some pretty awesome hikes. We hiked, most notably in my mind, Mount Brokaw, and he showed me this really cool book called Wandering. I forget the author, but I have it saved. And the concept of wandering, it's written very poetically, but it really stuck to me in, you have two vital things in life, and he calls them wandering and farming. And wandering ties back to all the things that I just said, exploring and taking risks and physically going new places and mentally going new places. That's the concept of wandering. But you always have your farm. And your farm is your security, the things the people the stuff you're used to, your routine. And you need to have both. And you can't just have one or the other, but you always have to have a balance of both. And that's how you grow and that's how you live. And being, in my early 20s and going to college and doing this huge wandering in my life and this instability, sometimes I forget that I have this incredible support system that is my family, and I know that they'll always back me and they'll always be here for me. And when I forget that I have that support system, I know that I always have my farm.
And what is it? I can't really see that close.
So it's two just little cabins on a farm, just representing the idea of farming.
Like a
And these,
homestead. Yeah.
yeah, these trees actually were not in the original artwork, but I requested that my artist did the trees that looked a lot like the ones that are in Reading, my hometown. I forget what those trees are called, but
Those look like
pines.
pine trees.
Those ones. But yeah, this one means a lot to me, and I think it's very relatable to the topic.
I have a tank top that says, "Not all who wander are lost." I will have to get you one.
Yeah, yeah. I should have worn it today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, tattoos are another thing that my generation, no, you don't get a tattoo. You won't even be able to be buried in a Jewish cemetery if you do that.
Yeah,
Meanwhile,
I'm
my son has a big marine iguana on his one arm, and he's got a baseball head on another arm. I say,
go.
express yourself.
Express yourself.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think, I mean, I definitely, before I got, because I have 1, 2,
Oh, many.
3, 4,
Oh,
just got a few. I definitely got some awesome words of wisdom from my parents of precaution and guidance before canvassing my body. But they all have such significant meaning to them. Ironically, that all tie back to what we're kind of talking about today. And I am lucky enough to have a sister. My older sister, your first grandchild, she means the world to me. And the connection that one can have with a sister, especially we only have a 2-year age gap, is indescribable. There will never be anybody that I get and gets me like a sister. This one is about my sister. And this one I actually got the privilege to get when I visited her last spring break when she was over in the United Kingdom. So I like to say it's me and her, but yeah, that one
those
was
are
pretty
all
cool.
real cool. They're very,
Thank
very
you.
beautiful.
I haven't gotten any in a while though, which everybody said you catch a bug, but I didn't get the bug.
They're expensive.
Yeah, not so appealing to a college student.
Right. So
Well,
Avery,
I was always nervous about getting a tattoo and then a few years later going, oh, I don't like this tattoo.
Haven't gotten there
Because
yet.
I'm a Libra, as your grandmother is, and Libras are very indecisive at times.
we're always looking for balance.
Yeah,
So if you get one on the right, you have to get one on the left. So you better
absolutely.
pick two.
Yeah, I mean, I have, let's see, that's 4. And in my little superstition brain, in Chinese culture, the number 4 is considered unlucky. Um,
Oh,
but
you got to get that extra
loophole,
tattoo.
I know, I gotta get another one. Loophole though, I did get my eyebrows microbladed last year, so I like to say 5 and 6.
There you go.
So I'm all good. Yeah.
So Avery, you also are very proficient in the language of Mandarin, correct?
I am considered by the state of California fluent, allegedly.
Why? Why?
That's a great question. In my hometown, we have a Mandarin immersion school, kindergarten through 8th grade. And when my sister attended, there was not a dual spot opening. But when it was time for me to enroll in kindergarten, there happened to be a spot. And so my parents said, let's put her in that one. So basically, every single day of school from kindergarten to 5th grade, half of my day was spent learning in Mandarin, partially the language, and then partially like math or science or literature, what have you, history. And then 6th grade, it became an option to take it or not. And I took it 1 class period a day. And then high school came around and I was like, might as well keep going. So up through my junior year, I took it I took the AP exam my junior year, got a 4. And then I TA'd for my Chinese teacher my senior year. And when I got the 4 on the AP exam, that officially certifies you as bilingual. But it has been a really cool and niche experience that is really interesting to say, because my whole life I had no idea that that was even a thing, because I grew up in this little pool of like 75% of my friends are also in the same boat as me. And then I come down to Orange County, and as a Caucasian woman, nobody expects that, and they're always bewildered. And I've had to come to realize that that is weird. It never seemed weird to me, but
I'm sure they welcome you into the culture.
yeah, Irvine is a great place to have opportunities. There's a large Chinese population here, so I'll catch bits of conversation too. It's good practice to keep my listening skills up. Yeah.
But that's so anybody that's going to watch this, when you're looking for somebody and to make a film, maybe perhaps Avery Lee Brown will come up for you.
Especially if it requires a knowledge of Mandarin.
That is the thing. I think that'll be something that'll help me stand out for sure, because there's millions of filmmakers, but how many of them can speak Chinese?
Right.
Hmm.
And how many are as talented as you? Yeah.
Multi-talented. So what are you going to do going forward, Avery? What's your plan, like with the film and media degree that you're working on? You've done an internship this year, and that's gone well for you. You've liked that?
Yeah. The question of what are you going to do kind of makes my eyes pop out of my head, because
Do with your life.
But yeah, I did get the opportunity to do my first ever internship in Long Beach at a public access television station. I was one of 4 interns. My last day is tomorrow. I did it for 3 months. It was such a cool experience. The commute was not pretty, but so worth it. I would go in 2 days a week and do all sorts of stuff. I've learned a lot. But these next few years, I got great advice from my internship coordinator that I will pass on to the masses. When you're a filmmaker or freelancing, first year out of school, take anything you can get. Second year, don't do anything for free unless it's for friends. So I've been building my production resume, which has taken a lot of time to compile. But I'm hoping to do more internships, obviously. I've been looking into possibly doing sports media as something under my belt. There's tons of sports teams around here. Having a degree from UCI, particularly in film and media, we've done a lot of television and broadcasting studies. So I think that would be great to add to my arsenal. I would love to make more short films. Of course, I have tons of ideas, but it's all just about getting it out tangibly. And I think something that'll help me actually make more films is the community that I've built of filmmakers. It's small now, but it feels huge, and I'm sure it'll keep growing. I work at my school now at the rental department, so me and all the film people are even tighter. Having a crew will be huge, because for this film that we just watched, it was me and 3 of my friends that could help here and there, but that was a lot. So having a crew and a bigger timeline will be
And a
lot
budget,
easier.
Hopefully a budget, a better budget.
Yeah, my budget for that was 0. I rented all my equipment from my school and my internship. I drove my car and everybody else. I didn't have to buy permits for anything, because I either filmed it in my apartment, my friends' apartments, public spaces, or that one shot in the thrift store, I did go and ask for permission, but no permit required. So things can be done on no money.
Very impressive.
Thank you.
Well,
So
I wish you best of luck. I think you're gonna do well, and come down to LA and you'll see more filmmakers here.
Yeah. Thank you.
So Avery, this was about you, your future self talking to you. What questions would you have now for your future self?
Oh my gosh, I feel like probably half of my journal entries are about this. I mean, all of these questions would definitely be theoretical to ask because I don't think I'd want to know the answers now. In my viewpoint thus far, I firmly believe everything happens for a reason, and all the good and all the bad. I think if I knew possibly the answers to some of the questions I'd want to ask, and maybe they weren't great, that would probably scare me now. But I feel like older self would understand. And I think there's things now that I wouldn't have the experience to fully understand. But if I could abstractly ask myself questions, whew, I mean, I'd probably want to know what I ended up doing for work. I'd probably want to know if I ever figured out or just amassed with the passing of time, not necessarily how to love less, but how to keep the amount of love that I have and not hurt so much. If that makes sense.
That's a heavy duty. That's a heavy
I
duty
think
statement.
I could definitely
Sounds like your grandmother.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, but I mean, I've been through not a lot, but some hurtful stuff at the cost of loving so hard, but never in my short time of living have I experienced anything to the point that has hurt so bad that it made me want to love less. I will take, and I've come to understand that there is a cost for committing so deeply emotionally to things and to be so open, to be so vulnerable. And it's so rewarding and it's so painful, but you can't just have one. You have to have the other. And if you want to experience that, you have to be okay with how much it could hurt.
I
think
think you,
most 20-year-olds would think, well, I got a boyfriend. Well, love and hurt, and oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You're
It's
very
been
Are you Pisces? What's going on here?
I'm a Scorpio. I'm a
Scorpio.
Scorpio Libra, which I'm not entirely sure what those mean, but take that as you will.
That's a passionate scale.
For sure. There is a lot of learning that I've done within myself as far as love goes. I think that there's 4 types of love that I am exploring, and it's loving of the self, loving in romantic relationships, loving in friendships, and loving strangers.
I mean, you are your own wise self.
You really are like an old wise owl. I think you should write all this down and then make movies of them.
Oh my gosh, I should probably just write a screenplay based off my journals with lots of edits.
Absolutely.
Then name changes. Yeah.
Why not?
There's been a lot of thinking in the old noggin, I'd say. But yeah, I'm just excited to live more. That's my biggest excitement. Nothing particularly has to happen. I have no expectation for myself. This ties back to the film. This is perfect. The understanding, I'm about to go off on a thing.
Okay,
I'm
go.
feeling passionate about this. There is no specific task that you have to do. There's nothing that you have to be. There's nothing that you have to accomplish. The privilege of just living every day and gaining years and experiencing life, no matter how mundane it may seem, life in itself is what you have to be, what you have to do. You don't have to achieve this certain thing or fit into a certain box. All you have to do is be. And right now, in this stage of my life that I'm in, I hear that and I can see it and I understand it, and I'm working on feeling it.
Wow. Well, that seems like a perfect place to end
Yeah.
our show, because I mean that's it in a nutshell. You know, what do we have in reality right now, this moment? We can
It's all that exists.
Yeah, we can fret about tomorrow, we can mourn over what was yesterday, but the gift of time and life in this moment is really where the richness is, and we can waste a lot of it wishing it were different instead of experiencing what we need to experience and then being ready for the next experience.
I agree.
You are wise, Avery Lee. Wise.
And well, we always say our little quote, what Nancy already said hers. Mine is follow your gut, which I think you pretty much do.
Yep. Tap into your intuition. It's never wrong. And we
Hasn't been yet.
No, we try to tell it, oh, shut up, I don't want to listen to you, but it still just sits there and laughs at us. Yeah, okay, we'll see. Well, thank you, Avery, for being here, for bringing your film, for letting us show it, letting us interview you, and
all your wise sage advice.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I feel honored as the younger person to feel like we are on the same playing field of exchanging advice and wisdom. Stop. Yeah, but seriously, genuinely, sincerely, thank you guys for having me on the show.
Our pleasure.
It is our pleasure, and you're off to acapella tonight, right?
So
yes, I am.
All right.
Do you want to let them know where to reach you, people that are listening and watching on YouTube or Facebook?
Still gotta set up my official stuff, but I am on LinkedIn. Avery Brown, attending UC Irvine, should find me. There's a photo of me from last year at an acapella photo shoot wearing a purple dress laughing.
Okay.
That's me. But I'll be setting up the YouTube, IMDb, all that situation ASAP.
And they can follow your acapella group on Instagram, right?
Yes, it is at Clair de Lune, like song, acapella.
Nice.
Okay. Well, thank you, Karen, for always being a.
Thank you for arranging this, Nancy. We've had 2 incredible guests in the last couple of days. I hope you guys, if you're watching this for the first time or seeing us over the years, will tune in again. We're going to try to do this to have someone come in and tell a story once a week, and it's never going to be dull.
No. And we want all women's stories. There's no oh, I don't have a story. Every woman has a story.
That's
and
right.
We're here to listen and lift your voice and support you and love on you and give your voice everything it needs for you to feel heard and seen as an authentic being, because you are that.
Love you guys.
All right. Take care. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And this will be up on YouTube later, so you can share.